here is more of right-wing media figures like having a tough time accepting. And remember, let's be clear here. Democrats didn't do, in a vacuum, Democrats didn't do great in this, right? I mean, they're probably going to lose the House. They may lose the Senate, although it appears that they're going to retain the Senate, but it's tough to say.
It's confirmed that Georgia's going to a runoff, by the way.
All right, so Georgia's going to a runoff. But you cannot find a member of the media or the academic world who did not say that the secular trends are that the party that is in power loses anywhere between 10 as a minimum, a sheer minimum of seats in the House, usually closer to 15. And even if you factor in there's fewer opportunities because we have such a polarized country, I mean, they all thought 15 to 25, bare minimum, in terms of these things. And they thought for sure the Senate was going to be lost.
Like, to put it in context, in 2010, Democrats lost over 60 seats in the House of Representatives and also lost, I think, 6 Senate seats, right? 2018, when Trump was in office, similar dynamic. They also, the Democrats picked up 43 seats in the House. So, this is what happens. It's just was it a red wave? Every Republican pundit, every conservative pundit is disappointed in and doesn't think it was the case.
Some of them even wore a red, like a pantsuit as a way of representing the red wave. And then it turns out the red wave has no clothes. I give you Fox and Friends late last night.
And so progressive. People are just dug in. They're dug in really deep right now. And
John Fetterman you're talking about?
Absolutely. He is so extreme, wants to open up a third of the prisons.
Doesn't frack?
Yeah, exactly. And lied about it. How about Mandela Barnes? I mean, he wants to open 50% of the prisons.
Right. He's trailing.
And he's running against Ron Johnson, but it's still tight. But how do you explain this country now, Brian, to your point? I mean, we have open borders, record gas prices. Inflation is the worst in 40 years. The president's approval ratings are so bad, worst crime since the 1980s, and yet I heard last night this is an indictment on the Republican Party. Is it? I mean, how are these issues, when our country is in such a bad state right now, how is this not a red wave?
Well,
and so progressive.
You know what's funny about when people answer their own questions? She already had the answer. The country has all of these things. There's all of these reasons why the Republicans should have absolutely steamrolled. Now, I would argue that the inflation is a function of things that are, corporate greed and whatnot. And gas prices are not at a record high, but they're certainly high. But of course, that's because we're having, still supply shocks because of the pandemic. And there's certainly a lot of, broad malaise and discontent. And she's right about all that. All of that exists. And she's right. A lot of people don't particularly care for Joe Biden. And she answers her own question. It is an indictment on the Republican Party. And the amazing thing about this is what are they going to run on? What are they going to run on? I'm not saying the Democrats are going to run on the things that they could run on, but I can list the things that Democrats could run on. But can someone even come up with a hypothetical as to what the Republicans could run on now? I mean,
you got to frack. Fetterman doesn't even frack.
Respecting the flag.
And when Trump comes back and he announces in a week or 2 weeks, that's going to complicate things as well, because then Democrats then have more arrows in their quiver to run against a guy that's at the top or a figurehead for them.
Trump will come in and he'll try and run on immigration. And that will be something that they will run on. Definitely. They will always have some form of racism and othering, other people.
A new caravan will materialize.
The trans stuff, I just don't think is going. I think it's conceivable that Donald Trump could elevate the transphobia, but it's pretty highly elevated. But what else are they going to run on? Is Donald Trump going to all of a sudden be fiscally responsible? Is that it? We got to care about the deficit again? I just don't think that they have any substantive issues that they can run on.
The issue is also that I think what Ainsley Earhart is underestimating is just all those Dem voters just wanted more crime.
Yeah, well,
They just wanted to do more crime.
The crime thing fell
Less
flat
fracking,
on its
more
face.
crime.
I mean,
in a way, and the only place where the crime thing actually had any resonance, as far as we can tell at this
is in
point,
New York.
is in New York because the Democratic mayor made it such a major issue in his campaign. And remember, all these people who lost, except for maybe Kathleen Rice to some extent.
I mean, she
I mean, well, her seat in 22.
Rice's seat, yeah.
These are all in New York City's media sphere. The 17th and the one in Long Island. These are all in New York City media sphere.
And Eric Adams basically gave them a sizzle reel of aberrant crimes in New York to highlight. Mark Molinaro on down hey, someone got thrown in front of the subway. Someone got followed into their apartment, which of course, terrible things, but isolated incidents that are magnified by how much crime is covered on cable news and in print.
So there you go. I mean, I don't know what they're going to run on, but I mean, they'll come up with something.
right.
But it's not going to be terribly novel.
And if the Republicans do win the House, which they will, but it will be by not a substantial margin, and so that increases the likelihood that there's going to be like infighting in the House and more votes that might be you can shave off, say, if whoever ends up controlling the budget committee decides to hold Social Security hostage with the debt ceiling. You could have some like blue state Republicans that might defect, and then they really don't have much leverage over Biden, for example.